May I, bro? Thank you, bro. Om Ajnanativrandasya Jnananjalashalaakaya Chakshurunmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Tam Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषाभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि बोल। जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading. Hare Bol. Today we continue from chapter number 8 and text 4. Adibhutam Ksharo Bhava Purushas Chadidaivatam Adi Adijagno Hame Vatra Dehe Deha Britam Vara. Adibhutam, the physical manifestation, ksharaha, constantly changing, bhavaha, nature, purusaha, the universal form, cha, and adidaivatam, including all demigods like the sun and moon, adiyagna, the super soul, aham, I, Krishna, eva, certainly, atra, in this, dehe, body, deha, britam, of the embodied vara, the supreme. Translation. Physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as the Super Soul dwelling in the heart of every embodied being.
What is mutable? Is it?
I think it's like mutation, changing. Yeah. Muuttuva, vaihteleva. This is really nice verse. I had forgotten that there is such a verse. What is this? Bhagavad 8.8. Is it 8.8? No. Is it 8.4? Yeah, 8.4, not 8. Purport. The physical nature is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through 6 stages. They are born, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproducts, they dwindle, and then they vanish. This physical nature is called adibhutam, because it is created at a certain point and will be annihilated at a certain point. The conception of the universal form of the Supreme Lord that includes all the demigods and their different planets is called Adidaivatam. The individual soul, Jiva, accompanies the body. The super soul, a plenary representation of Lord Krishna, is called the Paramatma Adiyagna and is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of this verse because by this word the Lord stresses that the Paramatma is not different from him. The super soul the Supreme Person of Godhead, seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of the individual soul's activities and is the source of consciousness. The super soul gives the jiva an opportunity to act freely, and he witnesses his activities. The functions of all these different manifestations of the Supreme Lord automatically become clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in transcendental service of the Lord. The gigantic universal form of the Lord, called Adi Daivatam, is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as Super Soul. So those who cannot approach the Super Soul, the Paramatma, so they speculate or they contemplate, that's the word, about the impersonal form, gigantic universal form. The neophyte is advised to contemplate the universal form whose legs are considered the lower planets and whose eyes are considered the sun and moon, and whose head is considered the upper planetary system. So in this way, the atheist also who always say that if you know God, please show me God, or I want evidence, please show me evidence of God, then one can just explain like this, that we can see the God, his eyes are there, all these things are there. In nature, we can see them, but it's same as there is some bug, there is a dog, and the dog has some fleas on it. Those are tiny bugs. And the bugs will say that there is no dog because they are on the dog. They can see only dog hair, but they cannot see the dog as whole because they're so tiny and they are just small entities compared to the dog. So similarly, we cannot see this universe and we are so tiny and we are inside the universe. So how can we see
Very
that?
good. Very
Yes.
nice example, bro.
Yes, this was Nimanita Prabhu showed one picture where he was showing this to the children in one. Let's see if I can find it.
Very good. Is there?
Let's see if I can find it.
I just understood it. I watched it also, what you're
Yeah.
reminded. I was a lecture, but now I just understood it when you said it. I started thinking we don't even see the planet Earth, but to speak of the whole universe and
Yeah.
Krishna. Yeah. You're
I wonder where. I wonder where Nimanita Prabhu found the picture. It was this type of picture. It was made in similar way. And there,
yeah, cartoon.
yeah. And the fleas were. It was really nicely done. It's in one of those. Oh, it's here. See.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. It's at fleeced convention, and the the speaker is saying, "What proof do we have there is a dog?"
This is a good
Prabhu,
one.
What?
this photo you please download and put in group, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Let's see. They are on the dog and they cannot see. Similarly, we see the trees. The trees are the hair of the Lord's universal form. We see these things, but we cannot see what they are. And similarly, we are like these little bugs. There is no dog. What dog?
Don't worry, there is 6 GB extra.
Haribol, who wants to read the next verse?
You reading, bro?
You can read also, Prabhu. Haribol.
Okay, bro. अंतकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः पर्याते च मद्भावं याति नास्ति अत्र संशयः antakaale at the end of life cha also mam unto me ever certainly smaran remembering muktva fighting kale kalevaram the body ya या ही हूँ प्रियाति was स ही मद my nature याति achieves na not asti there is atra here samsaya doubt translation and whoever at the time of death quiet his body remembering me alone at once attain my nature of this there is no doubt. Purport. In this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quiet his body in the Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental abode of the Supreme Lord. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of the Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. To remember Krishna, one should chant the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Instantly following in the footstep of Lord Chaitanya, being more tolerant than the tree, humbler than the grass, and offering all respect to the others without inquiring respect in return. In such a way, one will be able to depart from the body successfully, remembering Krishna and so attain the supreme goal. Text 6. Yeah.
Here, one important point is that here Krishna says, and whoever at the time of death guides his body, remembering me, and then there is this important word, this alone. Not remembering me and 60 other things, me and my family members. And Krishna says, one who quits his body remembering me alone, that means nothing else. So that's one thing I heard from some Tatvait Prabhu's lecture or somewhere. Then that got me realizing that, oh, it's not enough just that one remembers a little bit Krishna and then there's million other things in the mind. No, the mind should be clear and only Krishna. So then it's possible.
Text 6. Yam vapi smaran bhava त्यजन्ते अंत त्यजन्ते कलेवरम tam वेति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भाव भावितः yam whatever va either api also smaran remembering bhavam nature tyajati give up ante at the end kalevaram this body tam similar ever certainly iti gets kaunteya o son of kunti sada always that bhava state of being bhavitah remembering. Translation. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quiet his body, that state he will attain without fail. Purport. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of the death is here explained. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharata thought of a deer at the time of death and so was transferred to that home of the life. However, as a dear Maharaj Bharata could remember his past activities, of course, the cumulative effect of thought and action of the one's life influences one's thought at the moment of the death. Therefore, the action of this life determine one's future state of being. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not physical. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna is the best process for the successfully changing one's state of being to transcendental life.
Okay, or can I continue?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu, you can continue. Hari Bol.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmarayutya cha mai arpitaman no buddhir mameva samsayaha. Tasmat, therefore, sarveshu always, kaleshu time, mam unto me, anusmara, go on remembering, yutya, fight, cha also, maji unto me, arpita, surrender, manaha, mind, buddhi, intellect, mam unto me, eva, surely, eshyasi will attain, asam sayaha, beyond doubt. Translation. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Purport. This instruction to Arjuna is very important for all men engaged in material activities. The Lord does not say that one should give up his prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue them and at the same time think of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. This will free one from material contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. By chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, without a doubt. Text 8. Apyasa yoga yuktena chetasanan yakamina. I'm so paramam purusham divyam yati parthan chintayan. Apyasa, practice, yoga yuktena, being engaged in meditation. Chetasa, by the mind and intelligence, na anyagamina, without being deviated. Paramam, the supreme, Purusham, personality of Godhead. Divyam, transcendental, Yati, achieves, Partha, O son of Partha, Anuchintayan, constantly thinking of. Translation. He who meditates on the supreme personality of Godhead, is his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path. He, O Partha, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. Purport. In this verse, Lord Krishna stresses the importance of remembering him. One's memory of Krishna is revived by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. By this practice of chanting and hearing the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord, one's ear, tongue, and mind are engaged. This mystic meditation is very easy to practice and it helps one attain the Supreme Lord. Purusham means enjoyer. Although living entities belong to the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, they are in material contamination. They think themselves enjoyers, but they are not the Supreme Enjoyer. Here it is clearly stated that the Supreme Enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different manifestations and plenary expansions as Narayana, Vasudeva, etc. The devotees can constantly think of the object of worship, the Supreme Lord, in any of his features, Narayana, Krishna, Rama, etc., by chanting Hare Krishna. This practice will purify him, and at the end of his life, due to his constant chanting, he will be transferred to the kingdom of God. Yoga practices meditation on the super soul within. Similarly, by chanting Hare Krishna, one fixes his mind always on the Supreme Lord. The mind is fickle, and therefore it is necessary to engage the mind by force to think of Krishna. One example often given is that of the caterpillar that thinks of becoming a butterfly and so is transformed into a butterfly in the same life. Similarly, if we constantly think of Krishna, it is certain that at the end of our lives we shall have the same bodily constitution as Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Someone else can continue.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Sam Anusmaredya sarvasya dataramachintya rupam aditya varnam tamasah parastat. Kavim, one who knows everything. Puranam, the oldest. Anushasitaram, the controller. Ano, of the atom. Aniyam, some smaller than. Anusmared, always. Thinking. Yaha, one who. Sarvasya, of everything. Dataram, dataram, maintainer. Achintya, inconceivable. Rupam, form. Aditya Varnam, illuminated like the sun. Tamasaha, of the darkness. Parastad, transcendental. Translation. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. See, even when Krishna takes the impersonal form, then he is also a person. Even the impersonal form is a person. Purport. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, he is Purusha, spiritual, Rama and Krishna, and is described herein as Kavim. That is, he knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe, maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1,000th part of the tip of a hair, but the Lord is inconceivably small than he enters into the heart of this particle. Yeah, this is confusing to understand. Into the heart of this particle. So would this mean that that he enters the soul also? Because it doesn't say that he enters the because the soul is 1/10,000th part of tip of a hair, but the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this particle. Does he enter the individual soul also? Wow. Therefore, he is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the Super Soul. Although so small, he is still all-pervading and is maintaining everything. By him all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot even comprehend this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which or argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent person, avoiding useless argument and speculation, should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Prayanakale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bruvor madhye pranam aveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. Prayanakale, at the time of death, manasa, by the mind, achalena, without being deviated, bhaktya, in full devotion, yuktaha, engaged, yoga balena, by the power of mystic yoga, cha, also, eva, certainly, bruvoho, between the two eyebrows, madhye, in, pranam, the life air, aveshya, establishing, samyak, completely, saha, he, tam, that, param, transcendental, purusham, personality of Godhead, upaiti, achieves, divyam, in the spiritual kingdom. Translation: one who at the time of death fixes his life air between the two eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion on the Supreme Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the two eyebrows. But for a pure devotee who does not practice such yoga, the mind should always be engaged in Krishna consciousness, so at the death, he can remember the Supreme by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at the death unless he is practiced in some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Ribol. Okay, 1 second. Haribol, who was reading? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yad aksharam veda vido vedanti vishanti yad yatayo vitaragaha ragaha yadichanto brahmacharya charanti tate padam sangrahena pravakshaye yad that which aksharam anexos and unexhaustible exhaustible veda vidaha a person conversant with the Vedas, Vedanti, say, Visanti, enters, yat in which yataha, great sages, vitaha graha, in the renounced order of life, yat, that which ichantaha, desiring, brahmacharyam, celibacy, chiranti, practices, tat, that, they, unto, you, padam, situation, sangrahena, in summary, pravakshay, I shall explain. Translation: persons learn in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into a Brahman desiring such a perfection or one practice celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Lord Krishna explain that Brahman, although one without a second, has different manifestation and features. For the impersonalist, the syllable Om is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explained this impersonal Brahma in which the renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are tough to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahma by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of Brahma's features. This practice is very essential for the student advancement in spiritual life. But then, at that moment, such a brahmachari, unmarried celibate life is not at all possible. The social constructions of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions from different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where student can be educated in the brahmachari principles. See, unless one practice celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunction, injunction for the age of Kali, that no process of realizing the supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy name, Lord Krishna, of Lord Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Can I read this also?
Hare Krishna is proved.
Yes. सर्वद्वाराणि संयमनो निरुद्धय च मूर्धनि मूर्धनि अध्यात्मनः परमं प्रणाम अस्थितो योगाधरणम् सर्वधर्नि, all the tours of the body, samyamaya, controlling, manaha, mind, hridi, in the heart, niruddhaya, confined, cha, also, murdhni, on the head, adhaya, fixed, atmanaha, soul, pranam, the life air, astitha, situated yoga, dharanam, the yogic situation. Translation: the yogic situation is that of detachment from all sexual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One established himself in yoga. Purport: to practice yoga as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense object. Sense organs from acquiring knowledge, such as the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self gratification. In this way, the mind focus on the super soul in the heart of the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the sixth chapter, this process is described in detail, but as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process in Krishna consciousness, if one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Okay, one more verse. Who wants to read the last one?
I can read it if anyone else don't want.
Yes, Prabhu. Haribol.
Okay, thank you, Haripal. Om ityekaksharam brahma yaharan mam smaran ya prayati ya chandeham sajati parama gatim. Om, the combination of letters Omkara, Omkarnes iti thus ekaksharam, supreme indestructible Brahma absolute Yaharan vibrating, Mam me Krishna, Anusmaran remembering, Yaha anyone, Prayati leaves, Yachan quitting, Deham this body, Saha he, Yati achieves, Paramam supreme, Gatim destination. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters. If one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. Wherefore, it is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. It is clearly recommended in this age that if one quits his body, the end of his life chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, he will reach the spiritual planets. Okay, I'm sorry, I will move some. Hare Krishna, I will reach the spiritual planets. Similarly, those who are devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet or Goloka Vrindavana, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. The personalists also enter many innumerable planets in the spiritual sky, known as Vaikunthas.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, now let's read 6 Astakam prayers. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreyah kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नाम्नामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमितस्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्नमापिः दुर्दैवमादृश्यमिहाजनीनानुरागः
Trinadapi sunicena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manatena kirtaniya sadahari.
Nadanam न जनम न सुंदरीं कवितां वाचकदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
अयि नन्दतनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मां विस्मे भवम्बुधो कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्ततधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं कलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदरुद्धया गिरा पुलकर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम गृहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे एरो प्रभु प्लीज रीड
What did Ashrishya va padarata pinastu mam adarshanan marmahatam karotu va yata tata va vidadatu vampato matprananatas sa eva napara.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And on those you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rule of chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharajananda, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the tombs at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if handle me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
हरि बोल श्री शिक्षास्तकम की जाय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की
Jai,
जाय पंचतत्व की जाय नित्यानंद की जाय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जाय श्रील प्रभुपद की जाय नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Jai.